Hello, everyone. Hey, Erin.
Hey,
How are you doing?
good. How are you?
Doing okay. Trying
Oh,
to
of course, he's gonna start barking.
just trying to get settled back in. We just took my daughter to the doctor again, so just got home from getting her antibiotics and
Oh,
whatnot, getting her settled down.
I'm so sorry.
I know. Thank you. Yeah, I don't know. It's like her second one in a month, so we got to figure out what's going on.
Yeah, it's so bad for the little kiddo.
I
I
know.
know
Her
how
fever
tough
was like,
they are. UTIs suck.
I know. Well, welcome. Welcome, everybody. If you guys don't know, I'm Kinley from Wildly Blended, and this is Erin from Raw
I'm
Pets
Erin
Rule.
from Raw Pets Rule.
And so we wanted to start this podcast because Erin and I have been friends for about 4 or 5 years now, and we always discuss pet nutrition and everything under the sun. And so one of our recent chats, we were talking about how we felt like the raw food industry, although everyone's heart is in the right place, we feel like it's just kind of gone off a path to where I feel like it scares everybody away.
It's becoming very complicated. Very
Yeah.
complicated. More so than I think it needs to be. But like you say, with good intentions and good, well-meaning behind it, I think maybe we're overcomplicating things a little more than we need to be in a lot of areas, and that turns people off.
Yeah, definitely. I know whenever I first started raw feeding, like I had no clue, and so I was looking to other people and trying to mimic what they had in their bowls, and just the more that you learn about it, the more involved it got, and now I'm having to like weigh things and having spreadsheets, and I mean it's really overwhelming. And so anyways, that's why we wanted to start this podcast. But today I just kind of wanted to take some time to let people know about who you are and who I am. Even though I've known you, for several years now, I still have no idea we've never talked about your background, like how you came to where you are now.
So how I got into raw feeding or started this business?
But
or
both,
yeah. Okay. Well, my raw feeding started with a cat of mine. She was about 15 years old and she developed chronic kidney disease. It was pretty advanced when we discovered it. And the typical advice of put her on the prescription foods and all that. And it didn't really make sense to me. Hold on. It didn't really make sense to me. I know. Because there's someone like right outside right now. Yeah, it didn't really make sense to go with the prescription diets, and she really wasn't doing well on them. So I kind of dove into the whole therapeutic side, kind of right from the beginning with her. And we transitioned her right off of she was on dry food, occasional canned food, nothing fancy. And we transitioned her to raw food really fast, faster than probably you should with a cat. Because I was scared, like she was doing really bad. The vets were saying she didn't have a lot of time to live. And she was about 15 years old, so she wasn't a young cat.
Yeah.
It was such a fast improvement when I even just started giving her fresh food, not even necessarily, it wasn't a full-on therapeutic balanced diet right away, but just getting her off of processed food and getting fresh food in her, we saw a lot of improvements in her, like just her overall mood, her energy was different. And she was a sick cat, so it's not like she was a healthy cat. You know, she had kidney disease. Her kidneys were failing. That kind of really like pushed me to like, this is like needs, like I hadn't heard a lot about it. You know, I didn't know a lot. I didn't know anyone else that fed their cats or their dogs that way. And I got a lot of funny looks, you know, because I was doing that and it was different. And even the veterinarian that we were seeing at the time, she was not supportive at all, unfortunately. She didn't, you know, she wanted the prescription food to be fed to her. And anyway, I got into the therapeutic side of it right away. So that's where I came from with her. She passed away in 2019, but she was 21 years old. That gave her 5 years beyond when they said she's got, you know, months to live.
And I mean, when it's kind of ironic because I was feeding our dogs raw food, but I was still feeding our cats dry. And, you know, that's when I reached out to you because our cat developed stones and he went down real quickly. I had to take him to the emergency vet and they put him on Hill's urinary. And, you know, the first ingredient in that I think is like corn or something, you know,
like corn gluten meal, not even corn.
I was like, what the heck? And so I knew that I had to get them, you know, transferred over to the raw food too. And that's when I so appreciated your help with, you know, formulating a therapeutic diet for him. So thank you for helping save our cat. And he was so fat, you know, and I don't know. I knew that he needed to lose weight, but he wasn't eating very much, you know. I felt like I was kind of starving him, but since transitioning him to raw, and that was a whole process in itself because it took me like 8 months to slowly get him over, and then they just one day just didn't want to eat it anymore. So then I had to go back. I didn't go back to raw or kibble, but I went to canned. And then I think that was kind of the stepping stone to get him over to full raw. So now he's full raw and he's down to, what was it, like 12? I think
12,
like 12
I think,
or 13 pounds now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and again, so the proof is,
and he's a big cat. Like, it's not a little cat. It's a big cat.
No, he is. So, well, that's cool. So, what did you do before?
And then
before this,
like the dog side of it started. Honestly, the dog side of it kind of started. Dexter had his own Instagram, you know, dog. It was not this business. It was Dexter the Boxador was his account, and I would just post occasionally meals that he would eat because I transitioned him right when I brought him home from 3 months old. So I would just post meals of what, and that was like, that always sparked like conversations with people, you know, as far as, well, why are you feeding him like this? And, you know, I want to know more about it. And, you know, that kind of turned into where I grew this page from, was his account originally. It got hacked and it was gone one day. I went on and it was just gone one day. And then I was like, well, I'm not going to do that again. But then I was like, you know what? Like, there was so much interest, and I didn't know at the time that there was like a lot of other resources for like on Instagram or Facebook or whatever as far as raw feeding went. I was just showing like what he ate once in a while, you know. And then that is kind of what like sprouted this business. Was I created this page and decided that I was going to just focus on that part of it because there was interest. There was like it wasn't a business at the time. It was just like interest, like showing what he ate and why I fed it, and you know, just talking about natural nutrition in general. And then that kind of spiraled into, well, I'm going to take courses and I'm going to learn more and I want to share more, because I didn't intend to initially turn it into a business. So you were one of the people, I think, that was like, you're doing this for free for people. You need to, you know, like I didn't for the first few years. I mean, it's only
Yeah.
been a formal business for 3 years, but I started this account back in 2017.
Yeah. And that's kind of the same story with me. And I think that that's where we came together at, is because I first started my Instagram page for my dog, Abel, and just sharing his, raw meals. And
Mm-hmm.
it's the same thing as you, like why I was feeding what I was feeding. And it just kind of became like a knowledge base account just to share and look at what other people are doing and gain knowledge from them.
Mm-hmm.
And like you, it just kind of developed into a business that I never even planned to start. It just,
Yeah, well,
somebody
we became friends back in the day when you were like dehydrating the
Yes.
fruits and vegetables yourself and powdering them before Wildly Blended.
Yeah. So, and because I started feeding the PMR ratio style diet, and I just I instinctively knew that they needed more than just bones, meats, and organs. I knew that they needed the phytonutrients from the vegetables and plants. And so then that's when I dove into, herbalism and TCM, looking at the energetics of the dog and looking at the specific breed and seeing what they're predisposed to and how can I help prevent some of those conditions in my own dog. Abel was a golden retriever, so they're prone to obesity and cancer and hip issues. And so I just wanted to give him the best possible life as I could. And so I was actually in between jobs when I started his account. So I had no income, and I was just making a custom supplement for him and adding it to his bowl and then sharing it on Instagram. And that's when people kept coming to me and was like, hey, can you make one of these for my dog? And then, so I would do it. And then before you know it, like my whole inbox is full of all these people wanting custom supplements. And then I just sat back one day and I was like, I think I have a business here that I never really planned to start. And so I took that first customer and I just, even though I had no income, instead of paying bills with it like I should have, I just invested it back into my company so that I had more to, make for other people. And so, yeah, I think that that's so cool that our stories are pretty similar in that aspect. So, so a little bit, I guess. So what did you do as a career before this? Tell me a little bit about your history before the rock.
If you want to go way, way back, I originally went to college to be an interior designer.
Yeah.
And then I was into that for a while. And then when I had my kids, I became a stay-at-home mom with them. And then when they became of school age, I've homeschooled my kids for 12 years. So,
man, kudos to you.
Yeah.
How many kids do you have? I don't even know that about you. How many kids do you have?
Two. Okay. They're teenagers now, so
okay.
15 and 17. So
all right. Yeah. Okay.
But that's been my life, has been pretty much since kids. So for the past 17 years, I've been a stay-at-home mom with them primarily. We've had some small businesses on the side that I've helped, but just not, since having kids, it was pretty much, and that's why this worked out really well, because this is something I could do while I'm home with them still.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think it's so important for people to know who they're buying from and know what they used to do. And because today we get so bombarded with advertisement and a certain, brand, we really don't know who these people are behind the brand and what their backstory was. So I appreciate you sharing that with me, because I feel like a bad friend. Like I should know this about you.
Well, because we're always talking about dog and cat stuff.
Yeah, we are. I'll give you that.
So,
So,
you. So
yeah.
your background.
Oh, man, it's kind of all over the place. I've done a lot in my short time here, but so like you, I went to college. I initially started as a physical therapist. I wanted to do physical therapy, and then I dropped out of classes and I went to a different school for interior design, like you. And my dad's an architect, so it kind of I grew up with that. But that class that I took just felt like it was like half interior design, half fashion. And I was like, this is not, this is, I felt like it was like a joke. And so I dropped out. And then I went back to a different college and I was going for nursing. I didn't want to be a nurse. I wanted to be a doctor, but nursing was like the first stepping stone to it. And then I was also in the Army as well. I joined when I was 20. And in the middle of my semester, I got deployed to Iraq. And so I ended up having to drop out again. And so I was a combat medic in the Army. And when I came back from deployment, I ended up getting a job at a local hospital working in the cardiac cath lab. So I worked as a scrub tech in the cardiac cath lab for probably 4.5 years. Ventured over to electrophysiology briefly. And when my husband was deployed to Afghanistan, we had just had our son, and you know, childcare was kind of hard to find and work around. So I actually got approached by a medical device rep, and it was like, hey, we're looking for this part-time position. You know, I didn't have to take call. I only had to work 3 days a week, and I was making more than I was making full-time in the cath lab taking call. So that was a no-brainer for me. So I ended up, that's how I got my foot into medical devices. And I did that part-time for several years when I got the opportunity to do that full-time. So then I did medical device sales full-time for a couple of years. And the company I was working for acquired another company. And after that acquisition, things just kind of went downhill. Like the products were garbage. I didn't like support what I was doing. And my manager was kind of chauvinistic and we didn't see eye to eye. So I left. And that's when I was out of work for a while. And that's how I got into Instagram, just trying to, you know, figure out what to do in my spare time and playing into, you know, canine nutrition and herbalism, and the rest is history. So
Nice.
Now, and so I did when I started Wildly Blended, and I found full-time employment. So I was working at a hospital full-time, and then working Wildly Blended when my kids went to bed at night. So I was like working all day, taking the kids to sports and activities, you know, baths and cooking. And then when they went to bed, I was still working until like 2 o'clock in the morning, going to sleep, waking up at 5:30 and doing it all over again. So I was like running on fumes there for a while, until 2020 when COVID hit. And that was obviously horrible for everybody, but it was also a blessing for me because my hours at work got decreased. And so I was able to work on Wildly Blended more, and I was able to leave my full-time job and start Wildly Blended full-time. So that was 2020. It was like a curse and a blessing, but it was very much a blessing for me.
Yeah.
So
that's great.
Yeah, I've dabbled in all kinds of stuff. I'm one of those people that I'm interested in a whole bunch of different things.
So am I.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm a rabbit breeder. The list is endless.
I know you got your own little zoo over there.
Yeah. We'll just call it that.
Yeah. No, I love it. So at some point, I think we're going to try to do a little homestead, but for now, we're just going to stay on our little 15 acres and kind of do some renovations, but
it's a lot.
It is a
It's
lot.
a lot. Well, and that kind of, well, we had chickens and stuff before I fed a raw diet, but we got into the rabbit breeding and all of that because I wanted a clean, good source for the pets.
Yeah.
That's how that all kind of blossomed too.
Yeah, a lot of people do that. They're starting to do it now, especially with like the egg issue. But yeah, I think it's awesome that people are able to raise their own food for themselves and for their pets.
Yeah, the rabbits really, they got me because it was a source of food that I knew I wanted to include in his diet. Such an appropriate animal to feed a dog. And I just had a terrible time finding rabbit that wasn't quite frankly gross.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't, and it was expensive and it was just not what I wanted. And so we kind of just took the plunge and decided to just try breeding our own, and it turned into what it's turned into today, where we've been doing it for a few years now, and I'm so glad. Like, it's one of those things where I was like, should we really do this? Like that seems like a lot, but yeah, it's turned into like one of the best decisions I made,
Yeah. So how many rabbits do you have now? Isn't that like 20 something?
At any one point, there could be a lot. Yeah, there's at least 20 out there right now.
Good grief. And you're up in New York, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're in northern New York or upstate?
Yeah, we're upstate.
Yeah. So I guess,
but rabbits,
do you have them? Go ahead.
What?
I was just gonna say, like, do you have them in like a barn situation, or do you have them tarped over? Like, how do you keep them warm in the winter?
They're in a colony situation. Rabbits love the cold. Like, that's
okay.
They don't do heat. Like, the summers are rough for them.
Gotcha.
The summers are hard because they don't do heat, but they love cold. Like, the cold doesn't faze them. They love the cold. And then ours are raised on the ground, so they burrow underground, where the temperature stays pretty consistent year round. Just a few feet below ground. We don't cage them. They're not caged or anything. They're as natural as they can be without being wild, to be honest.
That's so cool. So it's just like they're just fenced in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you don't worry about like hawks or anything coming in?
There's a roof. It's closed over on the top. Yeah, there's a lot because I have to keep predators out because everything wants to eat them. But yeah. I have a page with all that on it.
You do?
I do.
Share it. I want to see it.
Okay.
Is it on Instagram?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the page?
Homestead Naturally.
Okay.
Back to Nature. It might have changed. I don't know what the actual tag, because I changed it to Back to Nature when I started a store.
Okay.
Because there's a store attached to the page.
Okay, cool. I didn't know that.
See, you didn't know that either. We're talking. We're good friends.
I know. We're becoming closer though. That's why I'm so glad that you're doing this with me, because for all those watching, this is like totally out of your and our wheelhouse, our comfort zone. We do not do Good Lives. So
this is number 2 for me. I always say no. I'm terrible. It's not that I don't want to contribute or be a part of stuff. I always make up an excuse for why I don't want to do a live. So when we discussed doing this, I was like, all right, well, here we go. We're going to do it.
I was the same way. Like, I've been thinking about it for a while and just trying to think of a way to get information out there. But I didn't want to sit here and just talk to hear myself speak, and I don't really like it when people are there's one person just spewing out information. I like a nice, healthy dialogue, and just wanted it to be like a super relaxed conversation between friends, like we're doing now, where it doesn't have to feel like I'm sitting in a class. And I think you and I both we think a lot alike, and and I know that there's so much stuff I can learn from you too, that I feel like everybody needs to see it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, I think we've had like great conversations that were like, this should be like, it would have been great if we had it in this fashion, you know, where other people could have listened in on it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, oh, you guys are so sweet. I'm looking at some of the comments. You guys are like, you're doing good. Thank you guys. So yeah, so I guess going back to what we think that this podcast is going to be about. So for me, I really, when I think of the average pet owner, I think they view their pet more as like a child. And I mean that in the best way. Like they are our family members. Like I totally get that. I get that. But I think there's that disconnect to where people look at it as a child and not a canine that should be going out there like scavenging and eating poop and eating rotten things and
right.
And so I wanted to like just bring it back. I wanted people to make that connection and start looking at their pet as a carnivore. And people don't even know, like, they don't know anything about their digestive system. They don't know anything about their teeth. So I kind of wanted to take it from the very beginning, like, where are dogs and cats from? Like the evolution of each of them. And then kind of go into, I mean, you and I both had like a hefty list of topics to talk about.
Yeah.
And I'm sure everybody on here can help contribute to the topics that they want to listen to. But I also wanted to hear from average pet owners. I mean, everybody's doing podcasts with all these experts and vets, and I think that that's amazing because we need to know that information. But I also want to hear from the average pet owner.
From people, like, I find it fascinating when I talk to somebody who's been doing this for 20, 30, 40 years, like a long time. You know, you get it. Yeah. There's something to that experience, life experience aspect of it. And a lot of times they have no idea about a lot of the, maybe I'll just call them trends that are going on kind of in the space that we're very active in on here. And I find it fascinating, like fascinating when I talk to somebody who's been doing it a long time, or somebody who's been like breeding dogs or cats and naturally rearing them onto raw from the get-go, just what their experiences are and how they're doing things. It's like fascinating to me to talk to those people. And, you know, it might not be exactly what you might think they're doing, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And so I think that, talking to those people that have been doing it for so long can contribute to those that are new to it, and they may make them feel more comfortable about doing it to where like they don't have to have or take a nutrition course, and they don't have to have a spreadsheet. They don't have to weigh out their food. And so this is, you know, kind of what I wanted the podcast to be.
Yeah.
So is there anything in particular that you were wanting to share through this? Or it's kind of
I mean, I think we've kind of talked about everything, you know, our intentions with this and where we want to go. I want it to be casual and fun and just a dialogue, you know, and invite people to join in on that dialogue and contribute, you know. I think there's a lot of stuff to talk about.
Oh, yeah. The list was endless.
Yeah.
And you can probably like subcategorize every topic that we had written down. So I'm going to take a minute and try to scroll through and see if there's any comments. You guys' comments are so sweet. Thank you guys for joining and being here. I think it's mostly, I don't know if anybody left any comments. There we go. And guys, the more that we do these podcasts, the better Erin and I will get at this. Hopefully Okay. Yeah, it's mainly just people are like, oops, glad that we're doing this so that we can get rid of some of the myths floating around. Yeah, let me get these off of there. I just wanted to take today to just kind of just introduce ourselves and kind of give people the expectation of what the podcast was. So I didn't really plan on diving in anything too crazy today. So does anybody have any comments about, I guess, what kind of topics you want to hear about? Like I said, Erin and I put a list together already. But if anybody is wanting to know about something specific, just leave it down in the comments and we'll get to it and add it to our list.
Yeah, any topics, or if anybody is one of those people that's a long time, raw feeder.
Yes.
And has experiences that you might want to share with us.
Yeah, and so that was another thing, like we're not going to be interviewing people, but we are going to have guests here that are just your average typical pet owner, just to get their experience. So somebody had asked, is kidney disease on your list to talk about? Yes, that will be on there for sure. That might be kind of further down in our podcast list, just because we're just going to like break it down from the very beginning,
right,
and kind of progress as we go that way. So it's, as I used to have a army buddy of mine that used to say, break it down Barney style. So we're just gonna like break it down real easy, and then we'll get into all the other harder stuff.
Oh my gosh.
How does it feel to be living legends in this space? Oh, you are hilarious. Oh my gosh. I don't know about that.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, thanks, but no.
Yes.
Definitely
Very
not.
flattering. Thank you. But all right. I mean, I guess if you don't have anything else to add, or I mean, we can sit here.
No, I mean, because we're gonna jump in on specific topics, starting next week. So
yeah,
I mean, because I could go off on all kinds of topics, but I'm gonna save it.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so I guess we will come back next week, and my plan was to talk about the evolution of the canine, and possibly the evolution of the feline. Because
we gotta include the cats.
Oh, absolutely.
The cats are so left out of this space, and it makes me crazy because they're left out. There's so much focusing on dogs only.
Yes,
we need to include the cats.
Absolutely. And that's, I mean, again, another reason why we wanted to do this podcast is because we always felt like everything was directed to dogs instead of cats. And so, yeah, and I'm excited to learn from you, because I have only I just know the surface, like what foods and what herbs are safe for cats, and the types of food that they should eat. But other than that, I don't know where cats came from. I mean, obviously from a bigger cat, but and they've been around since Egyptian time, but
cats are so primal still, unlike dogs, where there's a lot of little things that maybe they've evolved or whatever, not necessarily their diet changed, but physically and all that. Cats haven't changed much. Cats are so primal still. Their instincts are still primal. You look at cats, there's a lot of people who have, cats that are living on their farm, and they hunt for all their food, and that, it's it's not so uncommon even in today's society to see a cat that, my cat was lost, and I was freaking out because, he's a baby little house cat. Yeah. And he was outside, and he doesn't know what to do because he's a house cat, right? But he came back, and he was just like, what's the big deal? I was fine, cats are, they're their own thing, but they're very so much of their instincts and their everything about them hasn't really changed so much. And that's one of the reasons that I get really passionate about their diet, because, you know, the diets that we've created for cats and that we, you know, market towards feeding cats and call it cat food.
Yeah.
It's just so inappropriate for a cat. You know, it's really doing harm. Like, it's not being kibble bashing or whatever. It's just, that's not right for the species. It's physically doing harm to them to be eating dry food. They're not meant to. I mean, they're desert descendant animals, you know, and
Yeah.
their bodies aren't really built to be. Watch a cat. You ever watch a cat in slow motion in like a video drinking?
Yeah.
How little of it actually gets in their mouth when they drink. It's a lot of effort for a little bit of moisture. They're intended to be getting that stuff from food, not to sit there and drink. Like, matter of fact, if your cat's sitting at the water bowl drinking a lot, that should be a red flag, you know, that there's something wrong with your cat's health. You know, their kidneys, you need to check that stuff. Maybe they're developing diabetes, you know, like, drinking like that for a cat is not normal. It's not normal.
Yeah.
At all.
So I think that's good, because a lot of people have no clue about that. They think that is normal. So yeah, this is going to be awesome. I'm so excited. I'm excited and nervous and awkward at the same time.
Well, me too. I'm just as nervous and awkward with this.
And I still need to invest in a ring light. I meant to do that last week, but just got too busy. And so here I am with natural light. But yeah, so yeah, I guess that's it. If you don't have any other comments or
no, not without specifically diving into something.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So I guess for those that don't get to join the live, we're going to upload to our YouTube channel. It's called The Raw Truth. It's at the Raw Truth _. You can go over on YouTube. We're going to upload it right after the live so that people can go watch it later. If you all would like and subscribe it, that would be amazing. That helps the algorithm and more people see our little episodes here. So I guess if that's it, we will see you guys next week, and we're going to talk about the evolution of the canine and feline. All right, Erin, thank you for joining me. I hope you have a good rest of your Monday.
You too.
All right, guys, we'll see you later.
Bye.
All right, bye.